What?
What's for dinner?
Sukiyaki. Sukiyaki is what's for dinner. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of How2Food. As per a request from a friend, today we will be talking about the Japanese stew Sukiyaki. Now, if at any point in this video I accidentally say Sakiyuki, it's not because I'm an idiot, it's because I'm dyslexic, and that's just how the word looks written to me. So I will do my best to say Sukiyaki. Before we begin, full disclosure, I am not a professional chef, so if I do anything here that is inauthentic, feel free to let us know politely in the comments, and I will be careful about things in the future. Again, let's not bore you with all the technical stuff. I'll probably do most of it in the narration anyway, so let's dive right in. You can do this.
Hello, Tam. To pull off this dish, we had to go to a local Asian market, in this case, a place called Nijia in San Mateo. There are several sort of unique ingredients here that you're probably not going to be able to find at the average grocery store. There are ways to substitute this, which I will talk about, but let's have a look around. I kind of love going to places like this. It's just like a toy store to me. It's all kinds of unique and exotic and interesting ingredients that you don't usually see in American grocery stores. It's a lot of fun. All right, for this dish, you will obviously need some thinly sliced beef chuck in this case. You'll also be needing some mushrooms. In this case, this is a few shiitake mushrooms and shijimi mushrooms, I believe. I actually got the name of these mushrooms wrong. It is shimeji. You could probably substitute these with oyster mushrooms, which will probably be easier to find. Need a head of Napa cabbage. I ended up using probably a third of that. It was too much. Some green onions. Half yellow onion. Some firm tofu. Now, this is katsubushi. It's essentially just dehydrated tuna, and in the little package there is some other ingredients. These are used for creating what's called dashi, which is a seafood broth. We'll talk more about this later. So this is 2/3 cup soy sauce, 2/3 cup of sake, 2/3 cup of mirin, which is rice vinegar, and about a tablespoon of sugar. This is cane sugar in this case. Here's one of the interesting items. These are shirataki noodles. Now, these are not made from flour. They're apparently made from a root vegetable called the konjac plant. The plant also had all kinds of crazy nicknames like the devil's tongue. If you're brave, and we'll talk about this later, sakiyuki usually comes with, see, I just did it there. Sukiyaki usually comes with a dipping sauce, which is pretty much just scrambled raw egg. This may be sort of terrifying to people in America, but it's a pretty common thing in Asia, and it is pretty delicious, as I find out later. First, we're going to deal with the tofu. One of the things we want to do is try and get all the moisture out of it so that that doesn't contribute to sort of muddling the soup. You do this by wrapping it with a paper towel and then placing a bit of weight on it like a bowl. You can see the paper towel's pretty much absorbed quite a bit of moisture there. So now we're just going to cut it into large chunks. Which brings me to something I should talk about. There are apparently two different versions of this dish. It's probably more than that, but mainly the eastern version from the Kanto region of Japan and the western version from the Kansai region. Now, the difference between these two dishes is that the Kanto version uses dashi in the broth, where the other does not. And then in the Kansai region, they actually cook the meat in the bottom of the pot to render the fat out. What I ended up doing here is actually a mixture of both. So here we're just going to slice up our onion. For the green onions, we're going to separate the white parts from the green here, and then just cut them diagonally along the bias into large chunks as well. We're going to half the cabbage and do the same thing we did with the green onions. The white parts and the green parts will sort of go in sort of in separate pieces. This ended up being way too much cabbage. You'll see later that I only use about a third of this in the dish. Here are the shiitake mushrooms. I'm just going to remove the stems off the bottom and then carve these little star shapes into the top of them. I'm told that this is just cosmetic, but I have a feeling it sort of allows the broth to seep into the mushrooms and to cook them evenly rather than just from the bottom. These are the shimeji mushrooms, which are just going to break up into large pieces. I'm probably pronouncing shimeji incorrectly. Alright, so now we're going to prepare the sauce. So basically all of those liquid ingredients we talked about earlier along with the sugar just go together. This is a pretty common thing for a lot of sauces in Asian food, is you just sort of mix them up beforehand and then add them to the dish when they're almost finished. So here we're going to drain and wash off the noodles. They're stored in liquid, so I'm guessing that they don't dehydrate or become too hard or chewy. But we're going to rinse them out and then strain them. And we're also going to basically squeeze out as much moisture as we can, because like the tofu, we don't really want that moisture adding to the soup of the dish. This also means that they'll rehydrate with the soup. All right, so here we're going to make dashi, which is a seafood broth used in a lot of Japanese food. We're basically going to boil 4 cups of water here. And then when that happens, we're just going to add all of that katsubushi, the dried tuna, and the seafood packet, which probably has kelp and dried scallops and or shrimp, maybe even sardines. Let that sit for about 10 minutes and then strain it out. And then what you end up with is this really nice sort of seafood stock. So this is about 1 1/3 cup of the dashi, but you'll see later I end up needing more of it, so I keep it on hand. Because we made about 4 cups of it, and I wasn't exactly sure that this was going to be enough broth for how much food that I'd gotten and prepared. So into that goes the sauce we made earlier. So that's about 2 cups of broth. And then here you have it. All of our ingredients are prepped and ready to go. Okay, so here you're going to see me fail at something. The dish I'm making is a combination of 2 different recipes, and in that recipe, the chef sort of seared the tofu first, which I tried to do here. But as you can see, in a few minutes, this doesn't work out well. I don't know if it's just something wrong with the pot, the cast iron pot I'm using here, but the tofu basically burns to the bottom of the pot, and I decide that that's probably not going to give me a good end result. So I just pull it and start over again. I've seen plenty of dishes where the tofu basically just goes straight into the soup, and all of those are great too. Here I'm just deglazing the pot to get all that stuff off. All right, then what happened? So here we're just starting over. I'm basically searing the beef so that fat will render out, and then that will become part of the soup, giving it a deeper flavor. This is a technique that I'm really familiar with dozens of dishes, and one of the reasons why I decided to go with this version of all those little burned bits in the bottom will end up incorporating into the soup as well, which is going to be great. So now you just start assembling the dish. You basically put everything in the pot together. So onions first, then our shimeji mushrooms, cabbage next, the tofu. There's the ones I tried to crisp up. Did not work, but when things start to go wrong in the kitchen, you basically just have to catch it early and then adapt. Here are the shirataki noodles, the white ends of the green onions here, and now the beef, which we're just going to place in the center. I'm totally drawing a blank. These are the shiitake mushrooms, which I'm placing at the top just because I think they look cool to see them at the top of the broth. So now we're adding in that sauce first, and then it's here that I basically discover, as I thought, that this wasn't going to be enough broth for all of the ingredients we added here. So I basically just top it off with the dashi. This is probably 1.5 cups. So nearly 4 cups total. Basically cover and bring that to boil. And we let this boil away for maybe 10 minutes. It's basically just looking for the mushrooms to finish cooking. Here I added the green parts of the green onions and then turned the heat off and basically just let the residual cook. So maybe another 3 to 5 minutes here. And then what you end up with looks like this. I sped the shot up because you can actually see it sort of absorbing the soup broth that it goes down in level. Just ended up being an amazing dish. Very sort of comfort food, which is right up my alley. And despite all the food prep, it's actually pretty fast to make.
All right, let's find out about this. Since I'm unsure.
My chopstick skills are very embarrassing. Sorry, Mom. I think I understand it. Yeah.
It's not as intense as I thought it would be, but that could just be the quality of the eggs. But yeah, it definitely creates a sort of like mellow sauce for it.
Creaminess.
Let's try the noodles. These noodles are new to me. In one of the recipes I watched, they cut the noodles, and now I can see why.
Yeah.
But, pretty good. Alright, I'm gonna try this again.
I'm on board with it.
Keep it from dripping everywhere. Alright, I get it. That was awesome. Alright. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you had fun and you learned something. Definitely try this out. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. Until next time, have a good day.
Just an outtake here, but it's Tam, and I'm back for seconds because no, I just did.
Oh, sorry, I ruined the thing.
Excuse you. Anyway, it's Tam. I'm back for seconds because I always am hungry. Always hungry. And this is just delicious. Okay, thanks, bye.